Ineos is the largest holder of fracking licences in the UK. They are called peddled licences. The rest of the industry, people like Quadrilla and some of the other smaller kind of cowboy companies, have been at the forefront of trying to pioneer this industry and have taken most of the focus from the protests against this industry at a local level and also at a national level. We've on the one hand heard this argument that keeps getting forced down our throat about energy security. Then you find out actually the company that owns more than 50% of the licences is Ineos, and they want to make more disposable plastic. What Ineos have done is come in with a legal challenge, and they've succeeded. By going to a secret court and gaming the British legal system. They had to have the court in secret, which they took to the Chancery Division of the Courts of Justice, a court that specialises in contract disputes, not in human rights issues. They produced 32 lever arch files of evidence and 6 hours of video footage, and suggested the judge needed 3 hours reading time. Said that it had to be held in secret because all of these local people in the places where they wanted to frack are dangerous fanatics and couldn't be trusted to have this discussion in open court. And then they've taken effectively the ASBO laws and corrupted them to apply to persons unknown. Now, if you have it against persons unknown, it effectively applies to everyone in the whole world, right? I mean, that puts people in a very tricky situation, and certainly what it has done is, what I think their intention was, is to quash protest altogether, because people are too afraid that they might be picked on, have their assets or homes seized as a result of demonstrating their human rights to protest against this industry. And effectively what that's done is it's kind of allowed Ineos to buy the law. We first heard about this injunction when notices started to appear at the ends of people's gardens and on the public footpath and the public highway outside what was effectively at that time an open field. There was no fences around it, nothing else around it, but it was one of the licensed areas. So that upset the local people enormously. One story from that has always stuck in the back of my mind, which was a couple that lived up in this village of Woodsets next to where Ineos wanted to frack. They have a severely autistic daughter that's in her mid-30s that still lives with them at home. And their daughter used to go out of the back garden across the public footpath and spend her time and days out in the fields and countryside. They won't let her out the house anymore. Because they're so worried that someone from Ineos security is going to come up and challenge her, and she won't know what to say, and she could have some sort of fit or anything. Anyway, so that's a kind of result of what this thing can mean to people in reality, you know, what it means to these communities living in this situation. As soon as we found out about the injunction, and it was very, very threatening, bullying language on this thing, saying, you know, if you want to even find out about what this injunction is about, you have to supply your name and address to our lawyers, your assets could be seized, and you could face time in prison. So I said, well, okay then, well, I would like to see the papers, please. Here's my name and address. As soon as I gave that to their lawyers, they immediately put me down as a named defendant within the case. Now, I hadn't even been there, right? There's no evidence against me. You're going to put someone down as a named defendant, you have to show evidence against someone. They couldn't show any evidence against me. It's just asking to see the documents. So this is the kind of bullying tactic that these people use. And on the one hand, I have to say, you know, I'm proud to be able to stand up and defend our rights. But I'm also ashamed because I'm only able to do that because of my personal wealth. And I think that that is just a terrible situation to have everybody in this country put under. I just think it's ridiculous. It went to court. The judge heard some of our arguments. I mean, for one thing that we managed to get thrown out in the first court hearing was that Ineos wanted this applied to their entire supply chain, as opposed to just their own company. And the judge was quite right in saying that actually you can't do that. Each company in your supply chain has to apply for their own injunction. You can't just cover everybody that you happen to deal with. But we're going to the Court of Appeal at the beginning of next month, really focusing on this aspect of persons unknown and to try to get that thrown out. Because if that holds, what that really means is that any company that wants to do anything that might be a bit unpopular and attract some sort of protest against it can issue this type of injunction, and it will effectively quash protest in this country, and that's why I think it's so vitally important that we get this thing thrown out in the Court of Appeal.